Hello, and welcome to the Two Dudes Talk Tattoos podcast. I'm one of your hosts for the show. My name is Ryan Othis. You can find me online at bettertattooing.com, at the Better Tattooing shop in Portland, Oregon, or our YouTube channel, Better Tattooing. My co-host is Brian Matthew. He kind of falls out a little bit early in this one because he was busy that day, so we won't blame him. Everything is groovy. You can find him online at Brian Matthew Tattoos and Brian Matthew Illustrations on Instagram, the Tailored Fit Tattoo Gallery in Rogers, Arkansas, and you can also look for that on Facebook. So today we have Gabe Ripley on the show. It's crazy. This dude did Off the Map, Tattoo Now, reinventing the all of the stuff. Any form of major tattooing, media, marketing, website stuff. He does it. It's wild. He does the Paradise Tattoo Gathering. It's massive. And I don't know why more people haven't interviewed this guy. He's extremely humble and has some really wild stories, which I bet if we maybe have Gabe come back on in the future, maybe he can regale us with some and keep the names of the presumed innocent changed to protect any type of, I don't know, legal stuff or whatever. I'm on the road right now, so my audio quality is probably going to be kind of crap. And I apologize, but I'm just recording this on a table in the break room an hour and a half before the shop opens up. So, any hoozles. This season's going to be crazy. We've been booking people left and right. We're going to be recording with two behemoths on the west side of the North American continent this week. And we're working on getting some other big names coming in. So we hope y'all are enjoying the show. And if you are, please take 2 seconds, pause, just go to that podcast player you're on and leave us a review. 5 stars. If you could, that would be fantastic. It helps push us up the ranks. And today, looking at our stats, we're number 23 in the Philippines. So Philippines, we love you. Sorry, I think that's probably much funnier to me than it is to you. But I love Filipino people. Have you ever partied with Filipino people? It's nuts. You have to hold your cup, and every time that it runs down and it gets empty, they'll just pour a new one on there. So if you're a Filipino person, you're listening, you probably know what I'm talking about. But every time that you go, if you don't want to get absolutely shit-faced drunk, you have to hold your hand over the top of your cup when you're walking around, or walk around with a red Solo cup. Bring a bag, a sleeve of red Solo cups to any of those parties, and it'll make sure that you can pretend that there's something in there so that grandpa doesn't come around with a bottle of hooch and top it off with 151 and make you drink it in front of him. Any hoozles. If you do leave a review, thank you very much. It's fantastic. We appreciate all the positive words we've been getting. And we have a Facebook page if you guys don't know. And head over there and join it. We're going to start being more active on that. After our break, we weren't really on it, so the errors of social media ways and such. You can also support the show by going to the Buy Me a Coffee link that you'll find in the show description. If you give us any money, we're just going to high-five the Jesus out of you. I guess the Jesus into you, if you're into that, from afar. And we're working on getting some bonus content rolling out here over the next year or so. So is there anything else? Any other type of stuff that we need to go over? I don't think so. But, yeah. Anyways, thanks for listening to the show. This is our talk with Gabe Ripley of Tattoo Now fame. Oh, one last thing I forgot to throw in there. This show's so great it'll tear the pants off your hind end. Let's go.
Everyone else can suck our dicks.
Hey, Go America! But no, wait, you're in Portland, though, right? So you're either a radical lefty or in a militia, or in a radical lefty militia.
Yeah, that's kind of what's going on here. No, I'm an anti-social democratic person.
Okay.
So I don't give a flying fuck what's happening outside of my community. You guys can all burn it, like, honestly. Yeah.
Anarcho.
But I believe that everyone in my community should have a voice. We should worry about what we're doing here. Like, I shouldn't tell people what to do in Tennessee, you know? My vote shouldn't fucking matter for them. And they shouldn't tell me what the fuck to do. Get fucked.
You know? Yeah, I guess it depends on... I'm definitely way down with that. Like, I don't see why, I'm from New England, why we have to get along with, whatever. I mean, I get along with plenty of Texans, but I mean, yeah, I've always felt as a worldwide citizen, borders are there to, they're artificial. It's all
Yeah.
artificial. It's all just made up stuff. Now, on the other hand,
Shots
when I'm
fired.
crossing borders and people are asking me questions about, me crossing the border, I'm like, oh, wait, I guess it doesn't make a difference what I give a fuck about your job and your bullshit border. You're actually grilling me about going to a tattoo convention. Fuck.
Yeah, dude.
So,
I
yeah, there's like the reality. It's fun thinking about some of the questions too. It's like, where there's a reality-ish and what we could do, and then there's like what would we like to do, and then what's going to actually happen.
Yeah. Are you drinking now, Gabe?
Well, I had enough issues with my computer here that I went through my lemonade already. Yeah, it's a light beer though. So
nice. That's how we do it in New England.
I mean, it's afternoon technically. So
that's fucking awesome. I've been sober for a fucking week.
Congratulations.
I mean, like everything, dude. I haven't even had a fucking drink. That's so weird. Normally, when we first started doing the show, me and Brian would do it, and Brian would be, he might have a sip of scotch or something because he's, if you can tell, presidential. And and I would get shit faced. I'd be sitting there taking shots tequila the whole time we were recording. I'd be at the end, I'd be like, Brian would carry the back end.
It could get a little crazy. We did a string of drunk critiques.
Oh, nice.
And so it was like, Tony Ramel from Tattoo Society and Bob were like the other co-hosts. We had all sorts of, guests coming on. And some of them would run like 6 hours, 8 hours, I think one of them was, and by the end of it, it's like way too drinky to be publicly Zooming. Yeah.
Dude, we would do that.
St. Patrick's Day is coming up. So it's going to give us a reason.
And we're Irish as fuck. So, I mean, like, that would be a great excuse.
It's, it's always, we don't even need an excuse, really, except for it's the next day. Like, if you're going to take it in the true spirit of it, it's always a wicked rough next day. So it has been like a full year, I think, since we've done, an official one. But, there'll be times, like, because on hour 7 or 8, right? It's,
just
1 o'clock in the morning. My wife's like, fuck off, Christ, shut up, get the fuck out. Like this, and so I leave the house and I'm walking around, and then it's like just Bob and I on the Zoom and walk around chatting or whatever, maybe 1 or 2 other people. But then I get home and someone's on the chat room on my computer being like, dude, you guys are still on the fucking mic. Like, you're not I guess if somebody lasts, 6.5 hours, 7 hours, they get to that stuff, whether they want to or not. I don't know.
We'll send you a t-shirt. Like, I don't
if we remember, it is drunk critique after all. You can't,
that's fucking great, dude. All right. Well, are we live streaming on your side, or are we just recording today?
No, we're just recording. I could click a button and we could go instantly, but I figured maybe, I don't know.
See how it goes, especially with how filthy my fucking mouth is.
Like I said, I have no problems with any of that, really. But to your point earlier, if we're to do something live, we could amp it up a little bit. Give it. There's no emergencies or nothing.
Oh yeah, cool. Right on, dude. All right. Well, welcome to the show, Gabe Ripley. Tattoo now and a whole bunch. Why don't you give us a rundown?
Awesome.
Who are you and what do you do? Because I know it's prolific as fuck.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you very much for the invite and having me on. And I'm Gabe Ripley. I'm a computer geek. I don't know how well it's working, but I basically have been working in the tattoo space since the mid '90s. I did look up some of the first news items, and the first news items on Tattoo Now. We're talking about Dark Side in 1995. Oh, wow. So I think that's when I was officially doing computer stuff for tattooers. And from there, I also work, on business, computers and business, and I don't tattoo, but I love tattooing and seemingly have, found myself in a spot where, I basically try to amplify tattooers to leave a long lasting positive impact. And, so I do that, as you're saying, I do that through a couple different ways. So there's the Tattoo Now, which is technology. There's consulting, so I could do consulting for a couple of days or a couple of weeks or for however long. Some clients I've been working with for years, and events. So I work on tattoo and art related events. I've been going kind of smaller due to just kind of some of my interests, and then COVID hit. So it's kind of going smaller events and then kind of getting bigger. Although this fall I'm doing an official tattoo gathering with Jake Meeks from the Fireside. He's going to help with a lot of other people's help. Doing a full-on Paradise Tattoo gathering again in October, and so I guess I do computer-y, business-y, event-y things for tattooers so they can inspire each other, do better positive tattoos on their clients with a better attitude. Therefore, their clients are going off and becoming better people and who they want to be and all that stuff. It's fun. It's amazing.
That's cool. I guess, and speaking of that, let's just, because we're talking about history, or we talked about this yesterday, right? What do you like with how everything is going right now? Like when you started, what was the industry like comparison wise? We don't have to go like back and forth, but
So industry, right? I guess people still contest that term, although I suppose probably if by strict definition it probably is an industry or a community or a business, but the environment. So the industry, if we're talking about the business of it, right?
Yeah.
So I got my first tattoo, and I meant to go upstairs and get. I think I still have the receipts from a biker tattoo shop in like 91, 92. And then I got a couple of other shitty tattoos. There was a tattoo shop that popped up in between my walk back and forth to the restaurant I was working at. And so I was like, this is clearly where I should be getting my second tattoo. It was that at that point I realized that you can get bad tattoos because I'm looking at the feathers on this thing and the feathers are not like the way the feathers should be. And so then it dawned on me, maybe I should be looking to get a good tattoo. And so this is 94, 95-ish, or 90, 93, 94-ish. I met this guy Sean from he opened up Dark Side. At this point he was Dragon's Lair. I don't know, he was in West Haven. He's in Connecticut. So he was like, the guy that was doing the best tattoos on some rock and roll guys I knew. And that's kind of what it was. It was like bikery, bikery underground, I guess the California thing was maybe a little bit more artsy at the time. Well, but ultimately I was looking for the artsy-ish type of tattooer that existed, in my neck of the woods in the early 90s, mid 90s. Well, early 90s, I started getting tattooed, and then I started pretty quickly, I got some adequate tattoos, and then I realized they were better than what I was getting, and the artist was good. Basically, the artist was better, but my ideas weren't that great. They were okay. And but I did form a relationship. I was like, okay, well, this is and at the time I thought they were the great tattoos, and I started trading out in the mid 90s, right? So at that point there was very little computers. There were computers, right? People say all the time, there's no internet back then. I'm like, well, there was. You just had to be a nerd that you were fucking picking on. We're playing Dungeons and Dragons on the computer.
Yeah. What was your first service? Did you have CompuServe?
I would go into the Southern Connecticut State University. Oh. So I go in, it would all be dial-up. No, CompuServe and AOL they were the companies that were doing it right in the very beginning, but I dial up to the university.
Oh, that's cool.
I didn't like AOL. I was still a little bit more anarchist back then, right? Maybe not quite. Maybe I'm just a little bit more wild and anti AOL. Fuck, I don't know. I never had an AOL. I never had an AOL email or anything. But there was always BBSs, right? There was text-based boards. The MUDs, multi-user Dungeons and Dragons.
I loved MUDs. Oh my god, I played the hell out of those.
That's how I learned to program. So I would program
MUDs.
Often when I would play some computer games, and then I'd program. I'd learn how to program them. Yeah, I did a couple semesters at a college, and my job, I got a work-study gig at the computer center. And I'd basically get paid to play on the MUDs, and then somebody would ask why the printer wasn't working. And I was absolutely the horrifically typical nerd being like, I'm playing my Dungeons and Dragons game. What do you mean you can't get the printer to work?
Did you turn it off and turn it back on?
Obviously you've been in tech support, or you can make it 98% of the way through. To this day, 30 years later, turn it back off, turn it back on. Okay, you did? Oh, you did everything? Well, did you unplug it? And then plug it back in and put it, I don't know, You're telling me it doesn't work. My favorite are the OCD tattooers, right? And so something will break with a computer. And then I'm like, I don't know. And then, well, yeah, to restart the computer. Okay, they restart. Well, what was wrong with it? What was broken with it? I'm like, I don't know. And they're like, well, what do you mean you don't know? We have to make sure that the conditions don't exist again for this to happen again. I'm like, when your car's not turning over, and then it goes, and then turns over. Do you ask why it didn't turn over the first time? No, because you're never going to figure it out. You know? Same thing with computers. Just turn them off, turn them back on again. And but to your point, yeah, after bothering me enough, I'd ask, I'd unplug it, plug it back in, it would work.
Right. So the industry back then was we'll say analog, because I've seen some of the links that you were sending me and stuff. Some of that stuff was really, really cool, like a CRM that you built and shit. And
oh yeah,
like,
yeah,
it was all paper ledgers, phone calls in, like things were different. So like the radius of influence that you had was really just very
well. There was email. So in the beginning, so this was, and again, if the first website was in 95, so I was programming computers and making video games while I was getting tattooed. So I'd get tattooed, I'd go off, I'd freelance, I'd do computer work. And then I would come back and get tattooed, and then hitchhike around. This is again early '90s. Started hitchhike, did the country a couple times back and forth, and landing at computer gigs. And then
that's fucking awesome. You're just like computer for hire and just fucking thumb out. And
yeah, it was kind of crazy. I would mail computers to myself sometimes. So like if I knew where I was going, I'd move it ahead. I did it on a motorcycle. I did motorbikes with a friend or two, and. Because it was mobile. I mean, again, so like I was always on the computer. This isn't that wasn't the 90s.
Fucking awesome. That's a mobile computer repair as you fucking thumb out on the highway. That's so fucking rad.
Well, I have a sign. I wouldn't. Thumb is a little bit too ambiguous, right? If you have a sign for the next town or or cities, excuse me, couple. But yeah, but then I would come back and get tattooed and but I would work for Honda and Epcot Center. I would be doing programming like touchscreen kiosk and shit, programming cool stuff.
Oh, cool.
I worked on like kids video games. So I did some Smurf video games. Lucky Luke. I went over to Europe a couple times to work in European video games. I was not hitchhiking. Oh, I did the hitchhike over there in the very beginning. I started hitchhiking in Europe, came back here, did here. But I do appreciate, like I did on a motorbike and like cars, the luxuries of rolling around. I definitely would not be hitchhiking these days. I mean, not because I feel like it's any more or less dangerous, just because of the comfort level. But with computers and stuff. So I was doing like computer video games and touchscreen kiosks, right? So they'd be like $15,000 computers to be able to be touch screens and have interactive movement and stuff. And then I would come back and I'd be working with musicians and tattooers. And this guy Sean from Darkside, he was wicked smart, and he saw the computer. He was nerdy too. He was like a computer guy. Maybe his dad was a programmer, I think. And like way back in the day, punch cardy kind of a programmer. And but anyway, so Sean was smart enough to understand it and do it, right? So I would work with him. I teach him how to do some stuff, and then he'd be able to put it in there. And we had some of the first touchscreen kiosks. I swear we probably had the kiosks before the websites, just because of the way that the technology was working. But then I remember distinctively I was doing some freelance work for the university, and it became clear, hey, there's this thing HTML, it's websites, everybody could kind of self-publish. And for the first 6 months, I'm like, I'm making fucking video games. Like, I don't care. Pictures and words, that's dull. But then, fast forward just a little bit, I trade out with Sean. I'll do a website for him. He does some tattoos, for me. And then it became pretty clear really quickly, not all it takes, but pictures and words can really move people to purchase tattoos and larger tattoos. And the more thought that you kind of put into presenting your tattoos online, and the more serious people you'll get coming back in. So my perspective is kind of, that's my door into it, was using computers to help attract awesome clients to awesome tattooers. I definitely figured out walk-in mentality and like a whole range of other things that come along with tattooing. But like my first perspective really was, using computers to attract people to get awesome tattoos, both on the online and then in person with these massive touchscreen kiosks. Sean made this fucking giant tiki mask, Sean in the shop and a bunch of people. It was like a fucking 9 foot tall tiki mask. And, it was a touchscreen. It looked like a Disney, so I would work on, I did the same computers that you would have at Disney World with walkthroughs and, we had video poker games and shit. It was, and portfolios.
Oh, wow.
They were pretty fun times, and that was in the mid 90s, right? And so now that was different, right? So I guess if take a poll of 1,000 tattoo shops in the mid 90s, how many of them had multimedia CD-ROMs and touchscreen kiosks and websites. Not too many.
Not a whole lot. Yeah.
But everyone I was working with was in that line, right? So like, again, from my perspective, it's like I'm pretty much only working with tattooers that are, either forward thinking enough to do that kind of stuff and work in it, or to be along with their friends, along for the ride or something. But
yeah, that's neat.
It's pretty nuts.
So you start doing this stuff. When do you get into creating like this networking type of setup that you've started to do in your earlier years? Because what was like the first website that you had started?
So the first website was for Dark Side Tattoo. So the first website I did for anybody was for a tattoo shop.
Oh, I meant like your own personal one, or that you were a part of, like collaboratively, that just focused on tattooing and wasn't like business, I guess, oriented.
I believe it was official. I looked at it, was like 2001, 2000, I think, is when we registered the domain name and started officially. Like I said, part of it was we were doing like touchscreen kiosks and CD-ROMs. But like I said, it's fuzzy, right? So this is like 1999, 2000, 2001.
Wow.
And it was
Y2K.
It was right over. It was around Y2K. It was a very So what was basically happening is that shop, was going through Sean was going through his demons at the time. So that shop was exploding. It was pretty crazy shop. At like probably 13, sick ass tattooers there, all fully booked. It was rocking. But then it was like, and then part of what happened was 9/11, I think. I just kind of remembering back, like things were getting kind of shaky. 9/11 happened, and then that just took everyone down like a whole bunch of notches. And it was too much, for that. So that shop was kind of, dissolving. And I was trying to figure out what I was doing for a living, right? I'm like, I was freelancing. And so after 9/11, a lot of my freelance work kind of dried up a little. So it didn't completely dry up, but it was like very clear. This wasn't the same fucking. It wasn't the same game. So it was a little rough. Like, so I'm like, I'm trying to figure out how to get a full-time gig. I'm watching the shop dissolve. I'm looking at the effect that the website was having on the clientele, how many emails were going through, how many appointments were getting booked.
If you remember off the top of your head, what was the volume like? I mean, especially if there was not very much competition online, air quotes.
It was not. Okay. So at one point, Dark Side, I vaguely remember. I could quote some numbers, but it would be trying to remember numbers from 20 years ago. But my guess is that there was 100,000 a month coming through Dark Side, probably maybe up to 200,000.
Yeah.
Through the whole server,
that's
there was
insane.
It was nuts. It was a lot of people. I mean, but even if it was 30,000 people at the time, it was still a tremendous amount. But I'm sure that by year 5 or 6 or 7 into its heyday, it was breaking 100,000 people. The whole server at one point was doing 3 million people a month, 2 to 3 million people a month, unique visitors, not hits.
Yeah.
It was doing unique visits from people. That might have been a little bit farther along. I don't think Dark Side wasn't hitting those numbers but what was kind of happening is, Tattoo Now, I was partners with Sean and Tattoo Now back then. During that transition, Tattoo Now, is on the sole founder now. And now I'm a solopreneur. But at the time, right away, Sean was also very much like, hey, Joe Capobianco, he's working in Long Island. Da Vinci Tattoo, the shop that Mike Rubendahl was at. We're like right away, we were hooking up with some really great tattoo shops. So that network was starting right from kind of the get-go.
Yeah.
It became essential to that first, after Sean, was checking out for a little while there. And I didn't have a home-based tattoo shop to work in. Then Tattoo Now kind of became homeless, which was, it took about 2 years, I think, before I opened up a studio office space to do, off the map in that studio. And in that time, it was really clear. It was like, well, if I'm going to be doing this stuff, networking with people, is necessary, and learning how to sell, websites to tattooers.
Yeah.
I don't really want to sell to begin with. I'm a computer geek. I'd rather email people from my basement. I'd rather email them from a nice cozy office, I've come to find out, but so the point of like trying to go around and try to sell shit to tattooers don't really understand, or if they understand, they have probably because someone else offered to do it for them for free already. But no, I'm a really good computer geek,
Yeah, it seems like that's changed a lot nowadays, right? Like everyone is kind of like, it's the age of the geek, right? Like everyone knows how to do some level of something technologically now, in some ways.
Yeah, yes, they do, which is awesome.
But back then it was like I think we have like really distinct cliques. Do you remember like in school there was cliques? You know, you had the jocks and the geeks and like everyone had their own. I was a mod. I just kind of like didn't have a lot of friends, but went through all the friends groups. I was just like, hey, because I partied fucking way hard. So everyone was just like, hey,
you had fun with everybody.
How about you, Brian? What were you? I think you were a jock, weren't you?
Actually, I was a huge geek when I was in school.
Oh, were you? Oh, shit.
Yeah,
like Dungeons and
I went so far as
to
I was in the Scholastic Bowl when I was in high school.
I wasn't. I burned joints when they did that shit.
That's academic. I love the overlap of academics in tattooing, right? Yeah. So back then, well, I guess to your point, there was very few other geeks. So there were a couple. In tattoos.com, I remember when Damien bought fucking tattoos.com, just as domain names were coming out, right? So we were doing websites before there were commercial domain names. It was like Envision, dot, something. I don't even remember,
Alta Vista.
Tilde. Yeah, exactly. It was like all the old stuff. But but like I said, it became very clear right away. Somebody is searching online, looks at tattoos, they see awesome tattoos. Then they email and they're like, hey, I'd like to get awesome tattoos. Now, these days, stuff like that is way more accessible, which is awesome. But I mean, for me, it's like, everyone can do. People throw around the word geek like they throw around the word research. It's like, everyone can be a geek, but it's not like everyone's programming shit or really going through and combining platforms and figuring out the APIs.
Oh, there's there's the grades of geek, right? It's kind of almost like the Scholastic team, right? You get like the A team and then the fucking C team.
Yeah,
right?
exactly. Yes. And I mean, but to your point, it's awesome, to have more people. I've never been one of those people. And the same thing with tattooing. I've never been like, let's keep this to ourselves. It's always been like, if you can understand it, this will change your life.
Yeah.
And same thing with tattooing and weed, it's
fuck yeah, dude. That's fucking great. Is it like now, I mean, looking back, if we're contrasting, because now everyone has a social media, they have a website, they have some auto-filling, populating fucking, electronic forms. There's no paper being used. Everyone's eco-friendly and stuff. Like when you're looking back and
hopefully,
you see how much, when you see stuff has changed, like how did you get your foot in the door with some of these places initially? Did you have to kind of prove yourself using that Tattoo Now platform to like show people how it could reach, a larger audience?
Yeah. But it wasn't really that. I mean, it was people like with everything. It's like first it's trust and referrals.
Yeah.
And then it is results. And yeah, I mean, and through the years, I've had the tattoo world's roller coaster and it's going fucking nuts. And there's all these forces at work and people are crazy and I'm crazy. We're all, and I'm politically pretty clear who I am. There's been times where I've had, but some of my people that are with me now are on the other side of the aisle. We could, at the end of the day, we could talk numbers, right? And we could be like, if we want to talk about business and attracting clients in a responsible way, making sure that they're paying a fair rate, and some different mechanisms, maybe even a crazy high artistic rate because you're artists and you should get paid a lot or whatever it might be, or you need to do a lot of volume. The point is, like, computers and technology is, there's ways to bend data in any direction, I suppose. But at the end of the day, it's like, how many people are looking at your shit? How many appointments were booked? There's people that might hate how I vote, or the fact that I do vote, but they are happy that they're bringing in more clients and they're doing tattoos on them. And I don't give a shit what they play on the radio at their shop necessarily.
Because I'm thinking like, well, one, actually, before I ask this next question, you mentioned a couple names of websites back then, and Off the Map, like for the younger people who listen to this, I remember Off the Map, and it was huge. Tell me about Off the Map. What was that all about?
Well, let's, again, it's like a roller coaster. It's a tragic story. I did actually. It's funny because I looked at the list of questions and I didn't see that on there, so I didn't prepare my off the map story.
We'll wing it, maybe.
It was. I'll wing it. I'll be as respectful as I can to all the parties involved. It doesn't exist now, and it was a rough ride, off. But everyone learned a lot out of it, right? The off the map. Let's see. So Dark Side, dissolved 2 or 3 years later. It was like, okay, well, I'd probably have a run at, my own shop, definitely with the support of my wife. She was, pointed out some key reasons and, gave me the support to think about it. I think I probably had like 20 websites, 15 websites at the time, and probably like 1 million to 2 million people a month, on the website. tattooers that were like, hey, they were supporting me, right? I mean, not a shit ton, but because all the dark side guys had split up and had already opened up two or three shops had opened up, so they were all secure in their spots, which was also a little bit that was rough, right? So it was like, okay, after 2 years, I should open up a shop. I'm going to find a spot. And I found a cool little spot, and I talked to like my clients, like Joe and a couple other people who were like, go for it. I had almost had a partner that I went 50-50 in with, but that didn't quite work out. But it was really clear, again, with the website having that much action, we were able to keep, and this is kind of the beginning. It's like I knew we were able to help keep artists busy, and what could go wrong? Like if you could do that, what could possibly go wrong? But that's kind of what it was. It's like we knew we had all this action. So eventually, we opened up a small studio in East Hampton. It's a tiny ass little town. It's next to Northampton. A lot of the artists were getting priced out of Northampton and coming over here. As said, I don't know, I was listening to a podcast with Russ, or maybe on a post on his Launchpad or something. They were talking. Oh, it was him and Maya Bailey. They were talking about just having tough times in their, where they're putting their shops, right? So it's like the fancy parts of town don't want, at least in Atlanta area, clearly they don't want the tattoo shops. Wicked lucky out here in New England, Western Massachusetts. I talked to the health departments. They were welcoming. There was a couple of politicians in town that were actually pretty cool.
Oh, wow.
I'm like, cool politicians? That doesn't even, like, it didn't compute. I'm a computer guy. I'm like, oh, well, that's fucking weird, but okay. Mostly what I cared about is they'd let us into town. So so we opened up, but then right away I was like, I couldn't get any of my old buddies to move in as a resident. And so like all of a sudden, I had the website going, and I had a mailing list going before the shop was open. It was pretty cool. This is 2005, just before the TV shows. Yeah. TV shows premiered the same year. So I did open up. I opened up with mostly guest artists. I did have one resident for the first 4 months, but then they quit. And everyone was asking me like the lead up, are you just going to do guests? I'm like, fuck no, I'm not going to do just guests. I can't, you can't just keep a whole tattoo. You can't do that. You need to have resident tattooers, tattoo people who come in who want tattoos. And yes, we'll have guests once a month. But then, we launched, and then after 4 months, the artist kind of was in a little over his head, I guess, or had legitimate, I don't know. Anyway, point is, after 4 months, I was like, oh man, I need to find a resident. That takes time. So we started to run like one guest a week as best as we could, starting from, that first summer. We opened in December, and by summer I was, we were looking for, residents. And, and ultimately, I guess part of it is like, I always did have to, because I don't tattoo, when it came down to it, when shit was turning over in the fan, I couldn't just tattoo my way out of it, right? So it's like, I would argue, clearly I argued for years. I'm like, I don't know, you don't have to tattoo to have a wicked bad, and you don't. But on the other hand, it makes it infinitely harder, because you can't just tattoo your way out of shit, right? You hire a bad artist, they take 2 or 3 people on the way out, all of a sudden it's like, if you tattoo, then you could tattoo there for $500 to $1,000 to $2,000 a day and get your shit done in 3 weeks of the month, whatever it might be.
I thought it was really interesting, because I think like before I knew of Off the Map, I didn't know of everyone traveling. It kind of like set that standard. And I think like the tech side of stuff, like being able to draw in that many people, you know what I mean? And like the websites and all of the stuff, like, it was beautifully designed. It was easy to navigate. You had like all of the people who came there. It was just like this postcard of what was happening in the industry at the time. And in my opinion, it superseded like the magazines, because the magazines always show like the same 10 people over and over and over every year, right? And you just seen the list, because I checked you out when you first opened. And I remember seeing the list on that sidebar grow and grow and grow. And I was like, fuck me, dude. Like, who is this guy? Where is this coming from? And I never actually, up until we were talking right now, which is why I asked the question, I didn't know that was you.
Oh, yeah, for sure. No, that was all me,
shit, dude.
The good, the bad, and the ugly.
Yeah, that's awesome.
No, and that was basically our hub, right? So that was, and it was in part so that we could show people how to do websites, right? My wife was like, bring people through, show them how to do the websites, sell them websites, and that sounds cool. I'm like, oh yeah. And then she was also like, don't hire this person, don't hire that person. I didn't listen to her, and fucking, and like I said, I guess the part that was dangerous about it was that we definitely grew over the course of the next 9 years, 8 years, 9 years, 12 years, 12 years. I guess it was 12 years. We were able to grow within the opportunity I was learning business as we went, right? So I didn't even define mission and values until we were like year 6 or 7 in, and then all of a sudden, but it was like, wait, why are people attracted to the spot? But like, there's friction, right? Like, I don't know, it feels like the fucking best place in the world to do the best job in the world. I don't, like, how come we can't just, figure it all out? And, but a lot of it was because I didn't define, this is what I'm about. I'm about hard work and, education and endurance, all the different, different things make different people tick.
Yeah.
And if you're not clear, this is what my mission is what my values are, or the company's mission and values, and be authentic about it.
And it was always
then all of a sudden you have 8 people,
right? But it was tech centric, right? Like everything was focused off of that aspect when we were going forward, because
tremendous amount of off the map. I mean, it was powered by the tech. We didn't have the kiosks at that point. Like, we weren't able to kind of keep up with a $10,000, $15,000 kiosk, but we had the website. To your point, the website was search engine. I mean, that the off the map hasn't existed in 5 years. I could open up a shop tomorrow and keep fucking 2 tattooers busy and have the guest roster going, right?
Yeah.
But because people keep texting and emailing just through the local scene, it was a juggernaut. It was pretty crazy. So that site was doing probably 300-ish thousand. That got up to dark sites. But one of the reasons why I opened up off the map, not necessarily a good reason necessarily in hindsight, when I was talking to another tattoo business person, they were like, dark side was an anomaly. Something like that'll never happen again.
Challenge accepted.
And I was a little bit like, oh wow, like, I'm sure. I mean, and at the time I was young enough, I was like, we could do that again, and I could do it in less time, right? No, what we did was different. Off the map was definitely different, and it was different.
Yeah.
Sean did his thing, right, and now he's doing his thing again. He's back, and he's got Dark Side's over 10 years. It's been back together again and thriving, And off the map was its own thing, right? But it was definitely and that led into the Tattoo Gathering.
Oh yeah. Let's talk about it, because like I did some bio search on you last night when I was driving home. I had my AI assistant
awesome.
on my phone.
Oh, I should do that to myself to see. I can't believe I haven't.
Oh, it's great. I was just listening to it talk to me in a very soothing, and I have changed the voice settings so it's British, so I feel fancy when I'm driving in my Honda, right? And I was just telling me this stuff. It's like, what's up?
Oh, I got to jump off of here. My appointment's here.
Oh, okay, dude. Well, see you later, Brian. Thanks for coming.
Buddy. Thanks for.
Gabe, I might reach out and harass you in a little bit.
Me anytime or him anytime. Yeah. Well, the shop looks great there. Right. That looks great.
Yeah, Brian's.
Is the one in Arkansas?
Yeah, he's really
funny.
busy.
You're in Portland, Oregon, with like the white walls and the blank, whiteboard, one blank whiteboard. And he's like got like this cool looking spot in the background.
Yeah, I'm in my office, so I'm in my science shop. I've got my whiteboards where we do like a bunch of stuff and writing. I've got lab equipment and shit over here in the bins. Still, I got to get the table set up. We only opened just a little while ago with this space, and then we've got some other space in the back here, but. This is where we're doing all of our weird testing shit, and like I'm going to be doing some chemistry shit with some pigments. I'm trying to figure out some stuff that's going on with that. We've got a whole bunch of weird shit. So, but we're weird, right? Because he is so clean and so like, he's just like this fucking. We were talking about like when you were first getting on there, like he should run for president because he just looked. He's like, I just fucking slap everyone and fire him. Fuck it. And I'm like, really?
It reminds me similar to Derb. Derb also has a
very presidential, clean, good posture. Like in shape. I was out of shape for a while and he got back in shape. He's just fucking. That's cool. I'm not. I'm frumpy. So
I'd be. Well, I don't know. I'd like to think I could be the. Who knows? I'm definitely not getting into politics. It really is amazing. Like I said, I befriended some of those politicians that I was talking about. And they're like really cool people. Who are in the town. And I really can't thank them enough because when I went doing all the tattoo shop stuff, I'd go to some town hall meetings and all of a sudden I'd be hearing some people talk and I'd be listening and then I'd be like, oh, they have no idea what the fuck I'm talking about, so I like just drone it out and I'd feel like I was in church or something or whatever, and then all of a sudden I'd be like, wait a minute, they're still going on. This has been like 2 minutes of them just talking nonsense, and then it gets to 3 minutes or whatever it might be, and then the person's like, okay, well, your time is up. Time to move on. I'm like, oh man, like politicians have to listen to people that no one else will listen to.
Yeah. Yeah,
you know,
I
right,
sit
especially at the
on
local level. That's kind of like the, oh my god.
I sit on the licensing board out here in Oregon with the health department.
Okay.
And when any type of changes and stuff, we come to public comment, and a lot
Public
of
comment.
sometimes the people are great, and
No.
sometimes it feels like they're coming out and they just need to vent.
Yeah, that's exactly it.
Yeah, I'm just like,
and you're
right,
legally obliged to listen.
Legally
and therein
obliged.
lies, like, I was like, wow, this is one of those, they didn't show this part in The Wire. I thought The Wire taught me everything about life. But
and you can't you can't just stand up and be like, shut the fuck up. You know,
no,
you can't. You're just like, okay, it's very interesting. Thank you so much for sharing. You know,
Yeah.
so like the aliens have come and they're taking our licensing requirements. I don't fucking know what they're talking about. I think that you guys should change the legal tattooing age to 4 because my kids got our talent.
I've done my research. That was what we were talking about before. I'm like, research. Wait, no, you weren't a scientist. You went through the lab and fucking did that. You know, and even reading peer-reviewed research isn't necessarily research.
Cognitive
That's reading
bias, man. You're just reading a paper. You got to understand all of the aspects of it, and then continually build off of that foundational shit.
Yeah, exactly. So the way that some of these words get thrown around, but that's okay.
False truths. What? That's an opinion.
Well, and therein lies, like, the internet is a tremendous place, right? So I used the internet for years, to build up, everything, and then to make a long story short, the internet, cut that story short a little bit. When bad faith actors can get a hold of their megaphones and scale communication, it's great. For me, it was amazingly horrifying to watch. Like, oh man. The internet can giveth, but the internet can clearly taketh away. But it can happen quick, right? And so, and there was a shift where, like, Photoshop is a tool, like computers are a tool for us to use. It's like whatever Steve Jobs said. I'm not a Steve Jobs disciple or anything, but he obviously said a lot of great things. But he was like, like it's like a tool, like a human being in a bicycle, like, can get farther. But then, again, at some point, the social media, and again, we were using bulletin boards and
news groups
and whatever it is, MySpace, and there was the other, there's the tattoo specific ones that kind of exist, pop up and go away, and then there's like the social medias that pop up and go away. And I have to say, I am kind of, when people are like, why should I go with tattoo now compared to someone else? I'm like, but 25 years ago, I was doing this shit, and I'll probably do it in another 25, and I can't tell you how many people I've seen come and go. And it's true, I'm just one dude. But like, this is what I do, and that's all I'm going to do. And like, Facebook will go away before I do. Hopefully. Yeah. But that got me off track. Fuck. Oh well.
No, it's cool, dude. I like, we run on non sequiturs, and I think it's fucking great because like when you're saying like the Facebook stuff, I've seen a load of shops now when I'm searching around the country, talking to people, doing whatever. A lot of people are like wholly reliant on Facebook for all of their communications for their shop website. They have no control over anything that's going on.
Horrific.
I mean, if you look at like, was it like SVB, like it just collapsed. I mean, in a minute, something can be gone.
It will. It's guaranteed.
And,
it's just a matter of when. Nothing lasts forever.
No. And so if you're wholly reliant on a single space where you don't actually own or control what's going on, then bad things can happen.
And they will, right? Yeah. So that's the thing, well, not necessarily they always will, right? I don't want to be completely, did I lose you? I don't want to be completely pessimistic, but if you're really successful, then you will, right? So there's this phase that I've noticed of success where it's like people that are, that you could achieve quite a few, levels of success or influence or whatever, by being clever and defending against, the things that are coming at you that you recognize, they're in your wheelhouse, you've learned against, somebody's already taught you about. When I got to you get to a couple million or whatever, then all of a sudden there's opportunists.
Yeah,
you almost have to and I taught this as fucking crazy. I can't believe this when it was happening to me, although I could believe it because I taught it. I was like, because tattooers help people become who they want to be. It is shamanic, right? It's like, whether you want it to be or not, it is. They're gonna, and if you're positive and you have wisdom as a tattooer and you're departing that through the whole experience of that tattoo to the person that's getting it, especially if they're turning 18 at the time, right? That's their transition. That's their, that's when they're, I don't know,
they're coming
transition,
into their
you know?
own. Yeah, they're becoming their own person.
If you show that person like the utmost respect and show them what tattooing could be and how it would be, you know, they might be getting faith upside down on the wrist, but they're looking at that sleeve on the wall going, wow, you know. If you treat them with respect, 2 years later when they're looking for a sleeve, they'll come back to you, as opposed to being like, oh, that was a great idea, but I'm going to somebody else who didn't treat me with disrespect. The point is, tattooers help allow people to be who they want to be.
Yeah,
which is insanely powerful. You know, you can do positive effects. People wake up and feel better about themselves every day for the rest of their lives. I used to think that was really cheesy. I'm like, if beauty's skin deep, you're the same fucking person. Until 2 years later, I was like, oh, I'm doing better. I got sleeves. I got my neck. You know, but
right on, dude. Yeah.
So because of that, right? That's why there's so much money. Everything's jacked up, and tattooers who are we can become who we want to be because tattooers have the skill to poke the holes in us and envision these great tattoos. Wow. You absolutely are on a path to be who you want to be. You know, not only can you do it, whereas most mere mortals, most professions don't allow it. Yeah. Like, you know, but some do. Like doctors help save lives, scientists can help cure. You know, there are, but like you could be like a 20-year-old tattooer making $1,000 a day slinging art on fucking people that barely know what's going on, right? Yeah. And so tattooing will amplify it all, and it really will allow people a level of success before maturity, you know, and or like, I don't know, it gets weird. It turns into this weird race in between, like the level of responsibility that you truly have, the beauty that the barrier to entry is low. You can be a marginalized, dirt poor, on the fringes of society, but you could poke holes on somebody with fucking, you know, black. Yeah. And then they're going to be coming back with their friends and their family with fucking, you know, 2 days food, you know, whatever it might be. Yeah. And, you know, for me, that's the beauty of it. So the point is, wrapping it back up, like, I'm not going to forget. Yeah. Tattooers, I taught for years, whatever your weakness is, that's what's going to get tested. Yeah. If you're fucking lazy, you can be lazy. I can't think of any easier way to be lazy than make $300 a day. You know, if you want to eat as much as you could possibly eat and fucking die of a heart attack, you can do that. Like, I love eating in the heyday of fucking when I wasn't even aware of what was going on. We had guests. You saw that guest list? Yeah. We went out wild. Every other, it was almost irresponsible of me not to go out every night. Yeah. But I'm glad those days they were fun. I wouldn't mind them again. Let's do this let's do half. Anyway, point is, every test, right? Like if you want to fuck whatever you want to, you can. If you want to, a sloth, whatever all the 7 deadly sins or whatever, you know, they're just archetypes in the most secular way. Whatever greed, you know, you can make fucking $3,000 a day. Yeah. Right. You know, every day, not just if you do that, it's not saying you're greedy, but like if you're greedy and you can make then all of a sudden you're going to have all of that. So, you know, and ultimately that's what it breaks down to when the you know, the studio then all of a sudden becomes this hub of all of this energy and power and personalities and whatnot. It's nuts. It's awesome. I don't know. It's crazy. I wasn't happy that it went away. I was really happy with the effect that it had. And, you know, the fact is, despite the bad taste that it left as it ended, you know, there's so many positive memories. That's that cool. And from so many people that it's you know, it's really difficult to try to, you know. I don't know. Anyways, I'm happy to talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, no, it's cool. Like looking back, like you fundamentally changed like how people viewed tattooing through tech. I mean, I don't think a lot of people will get looking back. I mean, just how important that was. Like the traveling tattooer was something that was very apparent in history. Like that was something you had to do just to stay in business. You had to go to port of calls, and you know, you had to go to bases, and you had to go to college. You had to work through the system to stay alive. And then when people started, you know, just actually like consolidating skill and ending up in a single place, it became fixed again. And we slowly see this expansion coming out. Now I think we're feeling the same thing where everyone's getting more consolidated and bringing back in because there's a contraction happening in this. But that loss and that stuff that happened like in the early aughts, like late 90s, no one was traveling. One, it wasn't safe. And then you make one website and you make 2 websites, and then everyone's on the fucking road. And I can honestly say, if we're looking at that, we can see the explosion in conventions, because it used to only be one a year, you know? And then
now there's thousands.
You know, there's at least a couple a day everywhere that you, if you,
I think there's probably like 8 to 10 a day. World tattoo events, probably, or every weekend. 8 to 10 every weekend would be my guess. Worldwide.
That's just. I mean,
It was pretty
that's
well. Like I said, it was
insane.
millions of people, right? You know, and in many ways, the Tattoo Now in particular, like the forum was really active.
Yeah.
And it did function as reality TV before there was reality TV for tattoo. People would check in every day. They'd see the new tattoos that were happening. Same thing with social media. Again, it's like, and again, part of it's, and that's why we're still here, is like at the end of the day, we're here to help tattoo collectors find awesome tattooers, right? And but again, despite the fact that there's Instagram, sure, it's what's one of the things that's different clearly is that you could create a whole career based off of all these other platforms, right? But what also hasn't changed, it's to your point, is that if you don't own those names, like it's great if you got a couple 100,000 or 20,000 or 10,000 Instagram followers, but like when hearing people complain that they get shut off or this or that, it's like, whoa, if you're not converting those people into people that you have another direct connection with, again, email, the website is an anchor. But again, email and phone.
Still the number one way. That's the only way I book stuff. I would say, and Brian, if he was here, he'd say, you don't book anything off social media because you fucking suck at it, which is fine. I understand. I'm just not.
Yeah. Well, there's only, it depends. I mean, I guess I don't know your particular situation, right?
Yeah.
I am a proponent of communicating with people where they're at.
Yeah.
And so, but on the other hand, also, well, I mean, I am a proponent of that, but also I'm not like, I can't go on all these other platforms. One of the things I do with my tools, though, is I have one of the tools that I brought into Tattoo Now. Will take all the DMs from all the different places. I call it a one box, brings it into one box.
No shit. So, you got API calls on all of that stuff across all the platforms just to fucking.
Yeah. So it's
awesome.
It's Instagram direct messages, Facebook direct messages, Google business listings, the digital business line, right? So we get the Twilio or the lead, there's different digital account, and then the chat bubbles on the website kind of go to that.
Okay, this is the perfect time to do the plug. To it too. This is the perfect time to do a plug, because you sent me that thing and I was like, this is fucking rad, dude. It looks like it was a lot of work. So plug your product. And
So it's a shit ton. So part of what I've been working on through this last round. So I mean, as I've alluded to, I tattoo now. I do a bunch of computer geeky tech shit, and in my hubris of my youth, I'm like, well, fuck it. None of my clients are using this computer stuff better than I can. I'm going to max this shit out. So then, 12 years later, I exploded because, I knew a lot more about creating business than making a business, right? And then I freelance, for a couple of years, and I'm selling, I do consulting, and I'm selling seminars, and I'm selling websites, which is different. And I'm doing like a day here. I'm selling a $200, webinar here. I've always worked with reinventing the tattoo and guy, or not always, but for, a decade plus. 2009, I think-ish. But I'm working on reinventing and making stuff happen with reinventing and different marketing tools and whatnot. One of the things I kind of was like, okay, as this nebulous stuff was happening, I kind of started to realize, the people that I work with on their software and work with them on their business plan and work with them one-on-one and work with them once a week are the people that I'm able to have the best effect with, right? So it's not like I'm just selling somebody a mailing list or a website or a class on marketing. What I put together is I bring in half a dozen, 2 to 3 major tools, and I have my own that I've been working on for 20 years. So we have mailing lists and social media schedulers and like image editors with templates. So like instead of knowing Photoshop, you just upload a picture. It has a watermark on top. It's appropriately sized for YouTube or for Instagram or TikTok or whatever the fuck. And but so we have all these tools, and there's but it's right next to the marketing plan, right? So it's like you could click on marketing plan, and then you could be like, okay, what am I supposed to be doing? I'm supposed to be sending out an email once a month. Well, I already sent that out. Good, it's checked right there. Am I supposed to be uploading more social media posts? Oh, I'm supposed to. So then, like right inside of there, you can go to your social media schedule.
That's cool. Yeah.
Kind of the same thing with finances, right? So like I've got profit and loss statements and marketing budgets or whatever, or a budget for an event. Now all of a sudden it's right there in that same piece of software.
This is like an all-in-one. It's not like I've noticed a lot of companies have been creating software for tattooing that have no idea about tattooing.
Well, it's it probably uses some of those tools, right? There's a lot of different tools.
No,
I mean, I wouldn't say it's all in one. Like I hate to say, like, I mean,
it's more comprehensive.
It is very comprehensive. Yeah. I mean, the way that I'd say is way more comprehensive than the tools that I used when I was making millions of dollars, running tattoo shops, right? So like, there's no question. And you know what? And here's the other thing that I could say. When we have a bucket, right? So one of the things that we, for years I've been helping swamp tattooers inboxes with consultations. So like, they have, it's not just an email and, it's an email with the consultation form filled out and everything. Yeah. About a year ago, I started putting everything in. I mean, I'm CRM kind of a guy. So client relationship management, right? We could all of a sudden have a customer journey and start
follow their lifeline or the lifetime of that.
Can I screen share with you?
Oh, let me. I
wonder if that would work out. It could kind of work out because I could tell the story while I'm screen sharing.
Oh yeah, actually, let's do that, and then I'll actually put up the video this time. Maybe I'll. Out of anyone who's listening to the podcast, I'm sorry, you're out of luck.
Well, I'll talk about it. It's definitely better to see.
All right, it's open for you, bud.
But cool. Now, so instead of flooding somebody's box with emails, we take those same forms and then have them, and actually we might not, some of this we might want to take out just because I don't want to be too client. I don't want to, we'll see. But the point is,
I can put up a little box.
Yeah, I want to show it to you. Well, again, if we're on the podcast and people won't even know, we'll just hear us talk about it. But so the cool part is we ask for the budget, and I remember you were talking about this on one of your previous podcasts about the people in LA who don't want to talk about the budget.
Yeah.
One of the things that I've been doing, I'm like, I don't know, we asked the budget. We've always asked the budget. You ask the budget, and then you know how much they want to spend, and you can be like, well, that's way too much or way too little. No, don't say way too much. You say it's way too little. Yeah. Or fuck yeah, you'll get the best fucking mermaid on your calf you could ever possibly get. But check this out. Because they fill out on the consultation form
you have an actual funnel. Oh, that's
how
awesome.
Much they're willing to spend. We can go to client journey here.
Yeah.
And so now we have this bucket, 2-book consultation, and it looks like they've already picked through it. Oh, here's one: $1,500, $1,200, $2,000, $700. This is all since March 7th, right? So this is a couple days ago. They got 158 fucking people in this fucking bucket, $4,000, $2,000, $1,000. So they tell us how much they want to spend because we fucking combine it all. Like, again, this is part of the difference between being a geek and knowing that you can do email and being a geek and going 1.4 million in consultations, right?
Wow.
Now, when I was thinking about this, I was like, this is fucking badass, and they didn't quite hit $1 million last year. But they're, they can see the roadmap to making sure they again, this is a half a year, right? Yeah. They've had a website with us for over 10 years. So they've had a high traffic website and they're awesome. So people come back and they've had awesome artists. The owners are awesome. This is like everything just working in conjunction. Yeah. But what I could say is I don't know very many other tattoo shops. When he was at the bank, so two things. One is the owner uses the numbers in the funnel here to help recruit. Yeah. So he was talking to an artist and he's like, if you work here, since March 7th, these are the fucking, 1,000, 2,000, right? And then, but then when he went to the bank,
having data to show to people who require data for anything that you want, that just sells it. Yeah. If you can show that you have the potential of 1.4 million plus, you already have a history of doing X amount of what there's no questions. And tattooers are notoriously lazy, right? We're focused on art, not on numbers, Yeah.
Which is, it's okay. And it's good. It's good. Like, and I got to say, I'm kind of the same way. I'd still have a tattoo shop if I felt differently, frankly.
Yeah, but this is where you're saying it tests your weakness, right? And then this is when your weakness is opening up a shop, and you don't keep track of all these things. Like with you building all of this, was there a lot of that like from personal experience? Like, man, if I had that, maybe something would have ran more smoothly, or maybe I could have done this, or did you build it tailored from your own experience?
Oh, for sure. Yeah. And that is one of the things that separates me out. I mean, obviously, I've seen all of the ads on the Facebook and I see all the other software platforms. Frankly, I use most of them any that existed before 2 or 3 years ago. Well, sorry, I've used them all at some point because like I said, I've freelanced, and so I've been consulting with tattoo shops, all around. So they're all using different things. And the thing is, like, any tool is only as good as the people that are using it, right? That's straight up. Like, I can, the same tools here that'll show somebody millions of dollars in opportunity, other people just will never get. But that's not my, like, same thing with hammers, right? And it's one of the things, like, I don't care what tools you use. Sorry, I don't care if you know what tools I use. I mean, I prefer, like, and if anything, if you want, I'll tell you my tools and I'll get a kickback if you use my, the tools through my link, right? But you're not going to be able to do what I do. And, but I'd like your help, again, but that's how it can be egoless. It's like, you can't do what I do, but I also can't do what you do.
Yeah.
Right. So, like, you let me
it's
know.
a collaboration,
and
right? That's tattooing, like, straight. You said that earlier.
Holy
right? Like,
shit. And that's kind of the best part of this fucking new tattoo that I was talking about, right? So I talked about the tools, and so I was showing you off the tools a little bit, right? So, like, and I could do a demo for you for an hour, and then at the end of it, you'd be like, does this do everything? I'd be like, it doesn't actually do point of sale. Like, some people use it as point of sale. You could charge people money. You could send people a link that says, pay me $200 or $1,000 or whatever. And then you could get the money. So you could use it like that, but, like, it's not like I'm not like, it's not like a heavy financials that's covering splits and rents and all that, but other than that, and it is, from my perspective as a studio owner, like, what I would be able to do. And again, like, but again, some of it surprises me. Like, I thought to put it all in the bucket, and I thought to put, like, the number on it, and to put these tools together. But, like, when he talked about it, and when he went to the bank, I was like, oh my God, I didn't ever think about it like that. I thought I could make millions of dollars in opportunity appear before tattoo shops' very eyes, right? Like, I can't make that opportunity, and this is where I'm an amplifier. Like, I work best when I help other people do their thing. Like, but I could help, like, all those emails that are coming in. I can help you say that's worth 100,000 or 500,000 or $3 million. But, like, I didn't expect, like, again, I'm not a money guy. Like, so I've gone to the bank, I've done millions of dollars of business. I've lost millions of dollars of business. When that guy said he went to the bank, I was like, oh my God, I know that bank's point of view. That bank's, and since then I've talked to a couple other, millionaire, rich businessy type people. And when I tell the story, I love it because they tell the story to me. I'm like, hey, check this out. And they're like, oh yeah. I'm like, yeah, a friend went to the bank, and they're like, oh, the bank would look at a number like that and like tally that up. And then we push it a little farther, and then I'm like, oh yeah, but and then they're like, well, maybe it's not quite like booked work because it's not actually booked work, but maybe it's 25% of booked work. And I'm like, 25% of a couple mil of booked work, or potentially booked work, gives you a lot of leeway. Now, that said, it's so vital. The first thing I would do, if anybody, I'd say hire a fucking, change consultant. Make sure you really have your shit down. Like, it's, and multiple times I've watched, it's way easier. It's not easy, but it's way easier to make and generate millions of dollars in revenue than it is to keep it sustainable.
That's good with the software. Like, but the first thing comes up to me, the tagline is tattoo now, control your space. It's just like, if you're looking at it, just being able to see what potential is. Usually I think potential drives people to work harder. And, if you don't know, especially like artists, like maybe you're having a slow patch and you can't see 3, 4, 6 months ahead where something's going on, where you do know that you have the potential to earn this stuff. Maybe you might want to call it quits. Like I almost quit, honestly, I almost quit tattooing this week. Oof. I was almost out. I'm burnt out. I have an awful travel schedule, and I've been doing it I've been on the road straight for 13 years.
Bam.
And I'm exhausted.
Do you have family with kids, or?
Yeah, I have 3 kids. Yeah.
Okay.
I did the math. The numbers don't lie. So I did the math, and I've been around for 30% of my kids' life.
Oh,
and
dude. Well, here's what I would say to that, right? When shit was hitting the fan for me, my daughter, who watched me go back to work fucking 10 years, 12 years of her life, 12 years of her, I don't know, she was probably 13, 14 at the time, right? For most of her, for well over 90% of her life, I'd go back to work, to work on this, for other people, right? Like I worked on it for myself, of course, but like I wasn't going back to work so I could be busier. I was going back to work so tattooers could be busier and have better experiences with all these amazing people that are coming through. Yes, I enjoyed hanging out with and being with people, but I was working and investing right back in the business when that shit was vanishing and dissolving before our very eyes. My daughter, I mean, she said it. She's like, "Why did you go back to work for them?" And I was like, you know, wicked rough. Like the Harry Chapin song is fucking playing in my head, you know. And I'm like, you know what? And I thought about it, right? Like, you know, I had thought about it before. You know, it wasn't, you know, through like we had a lot of amazing experiences. Yeah. You know, and off the map, to your point, people still talk about it, you know, and in a positive light, right? Yeah. Because it helped them amplify something positive in their life, you know. And we went around, you know, through Europe, not necessarily around the world, but we took a lot of great trips, and she had taken a lot of great trips. But there's almost no way to tell a teenager, like, you know, as people are, you know, letting you go, why did you sacrifice time with me to go spend time with them? Yeah. And you know, it's definitely it was rough to learn that lesson as late. You know, I did mitigate it, like I said, you know. Years later, I might be like, because we went to Venice fucking 3 times before you were 10. You know, you got to eat on an island in the fucking Mediterranean from octopus that was caught right there. Yeah. Thank you, Alex DePasse. Alex is fucking amazing. You know, so there was experiences that we had that we, you know, that were magical again, and that's kind of the thing, right? Like I remember other people, you know, I used to say, you know, the higher the climb, the farther the fall, right? When some people that would say do business in ways that I did not appreciate, I'd be like, oh yeah, see you at the top, buddy. Can't wait to see you fall. You know, the farther you go up, the farther you go down. And you know, when I was in free fall, I was a little bit like, oh man, I bet there's a couple people that are, you know, smiling and they're, you know, but to your point, you know, it is those lessons that it's like, okay, now what exactly happened here? How, you know, I clearly don't want this to ever happen again. It just hurts too many people. Yeah. And you know,
it's so funny, dude. I keep thinking about that list, and it's like I'm wondering if or what the landscape of tattooing would be like now if you hadn't done what you had done.
Somebody would have, you know, it's you know,
how many geeks were actually and proper? I mean, like fucking, you know, how many people would have actually gone to the lengths and done the stuff that you had done at the time? I mean,
stop. My wife won't allow it, and I can tell you that the ego of a computer geek is already so far off the charts that there's absolutely no productive thing that could happen from this line of.
I gotcha.
No, you know, somebody like there's other geeks, you know, there's other people that gave it a go. You know, everyone does their own thing, and you know, ultimately, you know, the goal is to inspire other people to do things that are better. You know, same thing with tattooing, you know, and you know, I mean, all I see are the faults, you know. I know what I'm capable of or what I can do, you know, and again, like I said, part of it is that part, you know, that part, at least the off the map part, got cut a little short. Now that said, it did allow me, and that's, you know, it also became clear, or not, you know, it was forced upon me, like, okay, wait, you know what, shed it all, you know, and again, focus on your mission and values. Yeah. You know, and like that's what I taught. Like, so what's my mission? My mission, you know, from off the map was to create an experience that tattooers and clients will value for the rest of their lives. Right. Yeah. I tweaked a little bit. You know, my mission is to amplify tattooers to leave a positive, lasting, you know, mark on humanity or whatever. And so, like, if I stick to that, that's why my wife is still with me. It's not like I was, you know, again, there's like, again, I spent so many years doing that it wasn't even a. I mean, it could have been a question, but
do you act with more restraint now because of your like experiences?
Oh, I have to. Oh, yeah. I mean,
I guess
no, completely restricted. They went bankrupt. I mean, it was a complete reset, and you know, my resources went from millions of dollars to, you know, dozens of dollars, right? So you know, everything has been completely restricted.
I feel you.
You know, I wasn't sure if we were going to go here, but you know, like. You know, a couple of years before shit hit the fan with me, like I would read books about people getting full resets and hitting rock bottom, you know, and to your point, like, you know, what it looked like from the outside is not what it was like from the inside, but it was pretty fucking badass from the inside. You know, it's impossible to not remember feeling like, you know, in a particular time, like, well, where's my reset going to happen? How's that going to happen? You know, I'm sending people, you know, I'm helping facilitate sending people to Japan with Jeff to go on these, you know, pilgrimages through the world. You know, my goal really was to create an experience for tattooers that they can't, you know, get to themselves, right? Like, because tattooers deserve to be able to, the best tattooers I feel deserve to be able to roam the earth to, not even deserve, they almost have a professional duty to like roam the earth to be inspired by the most amazing things they could possibly experience, to bring it back to their clientele, to inspire their clientele to go have those similar experiences. And Yeah, well, then I figured out, like I said, there was, there wasn't anything that my wife or some other key people hadn't warned me off of. So I wish I could say I didn't see it coming, but on the other hand, to your point, I realized, okay, clearly I have to work on myself. Those weaknesses that I amplified through my business can't happen again. It just hurts too many people. There was, but that said, I'm really excited to be, working still hard. I guess it stuck to my core values. Okay, no one has to work with me. I don't care. I mean, I do care, but there's enough people that are like, I want to work with you. I want, let's do this, and they're positive people. And if anything, it's almost more exciting for me to help other people with their projects. So as opposed to me having my own off the map, I could help other people create their off the maps. And I'm not doing it, like I said, and I have all of the tools. I have the business plans. I have the actual software tools. So it's like the business plan that drives the email list, that drives the, organizational chart to hire the right people with job descriptions. And then we meet. Okay, this is what I was saying before. We meet once a week, right? So we have anywhere between, say, 9 and 15 tattooers and shop owners. There's an apprentice, maybe, I think, in there. And we meet. They have the software, they have the business plan at their disposal, and then we could bounce ideas around. People are in different stages of their business, which is amazing, So there's people that there was one guy who was in a couple of weeks ago. He has like 8 tattoo shops, 100 motherfucking tattooers.
Holy cow!
Well, I don't know if they're all motherfuckers. Motherfucking and motherfucking tattooers. Or just people who fuck. I don't know.
That's really interesting. I guess
I was like, man, that's
wild. So, like, where you're at now, are you happy?
Yeah, I'm happy. I'm I mean, every day I wake up alive, I'm fucking happy, And when I was as depressed as you could possibly be, I do think that at least at the little base level, I still was like, I'm ecstatic to be alive, to experience this discomfort. My wife might be like, yeah, that's what you said in your mind while you stared at the wall for fucking 6 months.
But it's awesome. You're still here. You're still creating. You're still thinking. You're still innovating. I mean, I think
I'm happy. I could be happier, though, I guess is all I'm saying. I mean, like I said, I'm happy every day we're alive because, we're here to experience this. I did almost get run over by a truck about 3 weeks ago.
Fuck me.
And I saw the fucking corner of the fucking half-ton delivery truck. Like if I was a little bit closer, it would have been done. And man. My life did not flash before my very eyes, but on the other hand, I was definitely like, "Oh shit!" Like,
you get the fucking shakes walking away from that one. Fuck.
Well, it was a little weird. Like almost it almost happened too fast, and I got out of it so fast. And like usually when a car will do that, I'm a jerk. I'll be like flip them off. One of my mentors walked over the hood of somebody who did that to them once. So I've always felt if there's somebody that is a car and does something wrong to me, if I don't walk over their hood, I haven't lived up to David Furlow. But I didn't even think that. Like when this truck fucking stopped, I jumped back. It didn't stop. It just flew right on by. Yeah. And then I didn't even flip him the bird. I was just amazed, and then I kept walking. And there was a dude who saw it, and he was like, "I can't believe you're alive." I'm like, "I can't believe I'm alive." And so I'm on borrowed time now. So I'm happy. I'm ecstatic. I'm headed out to New Mexico next week for Queercation. So I think it's the first queer tattoo. It's the first queer tattoo conference in America.
Wow.
There was a queer tattoo convention in Berlin. So but it's not about being first. It's just about again helping people amplify, right? And it's also queer and ally. I'm an ally. And so that's in New Mexico. There's inspiring tours. So we're doing small 5-people trips. Let's see, we've got Nikki Simpson and Tuge Poole is doing one, Nick Baxter and Sean Barber. I'm doing one with Jake Meeks. So if anybody wants to do more business stuff in April in a bed and breakfast in New Hampshire, it's awesome. It's like a little over $1,000. And the point is, I'm doing inspiring tours, 5 people. We're taking that around the world, hopefully. Then there's Black and Gray Week. That's happening down at Unify Tattoo in Florida, Bart and Pepper's shop in St. Augustine. Fucking Bob Tyrell, Marshall Bennett, Whitney Whitney Shriller. I don't know.
Yeah.
Whitney's awesome. And then, there was another dude who just confirmed. Anyways, point is, Hell City, we're doing like a reinventing room at Hell City. Now, I'm ecstatic. Like, things could, it's, they could be a little bit more settled. But on the other hand, I guess, I'm fucking ecstatic to be alive every day. But it's okay, because it'll get better.
All right, what's next now? Like, I mean, what's big on your plate? Like, what do you think the future holds? Let's do this two-pronged. What do you think the future is going to hold for tattooing now that like technology is just so fucking ingrained? And then how is that going to impact you?
Okay, I have no idea how. So the future of tattooing is wicked fun to think about, right? And obviously the AI is hitting mainstream. And I thought about AI a lot, right? So in 1993, one of my very first classes was in artificial intelligence at Hampshire. I'd taken like a humanities class, how to think about the brain.
Yeah.
And I was like, fuck this shit. Like, there's no way I'm thinking this deep right now. But I'm good at computers. I'll go and take the computer course. And then the AI class was like, how do humans think in the brain? Now let's make that happen in a computer. I'm like, oh, good Lord, this is ridiculous. But it is pretty phenomenal, right? Like now, clearly everyone's probably relatively familiar with like Mid-Journey, I have AI, chat API in my news writing and my social posts section of Tattoo Now. So, and begrudgingly, I made a caption for a tattoo, and it was better than the one that I would write. I edited it, but it was better. So if I start to put that in practice, all of a sudden you're going to see my captions start to be a little better. Now, that said, I'm also geeky enough to know that like Google and shit, like every person and Google will value high quality, unique content.
Yeah.
Right. So that's going to be harder to find because, now it's going to be way easier to find really good content that's AI generated.
Yeah.
Okay, now tattooers are in a really unique position where a lot of tattooers are copying shit all day long. Like the basis of tattooing is copying.
It's just replication. Yeah,
now obviously I love working with, Guy and all these artists that are, I love working with artists that do all sorts of crazy art, and whatnot on it. But sometimes it's like they do their art on the paintings and then they photorealistically tattoo it, So like the bar for low level tattooing, I guess, if we're going to talk about tattooing in particular, is going to get raised pretty dramatically. Like, I mean, there's almost no excuse for having like a, shitty, design. The computer obviously can't fucks up hands. Again, so here's the thing. Currently, for the next 5 to 10 years, AI will beat people, but AI plus people still beats everything. Right? So it's like a creative human being with artificially intelligent tools is going to perform better than either a person or an AI. Will there be a surgical robot to apply tattoos? Yeah, of course. Like
they've been trying to make one for decades. Yeah.
And in 20 years from now, of course, it'll be this weird thing that stretches the skin, maps out the skin, stretches the skin. It doesn't have a needle. It changes the needle configuration on the fly for whatever it is that it needs, right? I mean, it'll be very expensive to do it like that. Now, a lot of people's tattooing is about that interaction and the connection, right?
Yep.
Like, so I was at the Worldwide Tattoo Conference a couple of years ago, a long time ago, probably a decade ago now. But, I was moderating and I got to ask everybody on the panel, what's your favorite part of tattooing, and it started with Jeff, and he's like, the people. And, everyone along the line, Boris, everybody, I love the clients, I love the people, right? And people love their tattooers, so it's like,
that connection is... you can't get that with a robot or with AI, right?
Well, now you also can't get that with a lot of people. But you can't. So right. So here we go. Like, can you create an emotional? So this is where we start to talk about AI. I love this, right? Because I'd love to argue, and so I could be like, I don't know. I know a lot of people I can't make that connection with.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people like when an AI is hard. It's going to be really difficult to come up with an original thought. It's really difficult to come up with people that have original thoughts.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're right. Yeah. So, but that said, okay. So what do I see for the short-term future? And I'll show a tattooer of 20 years that does everything that walks in off the street, Mid-Journey, and by 15 minutes later, one of the guys was literally like, "Is it ethical for a tattooer to not use this?" Right? Like, why would you do something adequate at best? Because you're adequate at best when you could use the computers, get an image that's actually pretty awesome-ish, or at least parts, and then actually tattoo that, so it feels like
take away the creativity, right? It's going to start moving it more.
But like, how much of tattooing is creative?
No, it's replication. So we're going to really start focusing on the idea of technique. I wonder if we're going to start pulling back from that idea of people being canvases, because you're going to need that person. Yeah, right. Like that. I don't know how many times I've been to conventions where people just slap on their headphones, their client's sitting there, they don't talk to them, they have their hat down, they can't even see their face, and they just work. Like that connection isn't there. Like, how far is the value or aesthetic value of art going to go before people start to feel alienated by the industry? Because like that's how we got here, right? Like, it was all about connections and like spreading the word and showing community. That's the only reason why tattooing, in my opinion, is as big as it is now. If that goes away.
Yeah. But it's not all of it, right? Like, I mean, I guess that's also the beauty of tattooing, is that there's assholes that fucking can make a living tattooing, not giving a shit about what we're talking about, and it's something that's out of our control.
A couple names popped into my head.
Like, I know, but which is kind of like, again, it's cool for me. Like, again, some of the differences that you were talking about, right? Like in the mid '90s, like we could count the influential people, on one hand. Philip Blue, Guy, Carrie, Paul Booth, Lulu Zuludo. But now, and again, part of what was happening with tattoo now is we had a significant amount of awesome people that were involved at the time. So and then it definitely felt like a third of the tattoo world, no, maybe it was 10% of the tattoo world was on our radar, or not even on our radar, but like on our mailing list and interacting with us. Now there's like whole movements of tattooing that happen, and I don't even have any visibility on whatsoever. And isn't that crazy? It's like, I can say that, I'm not trying to even be a megalomaniac. I'm just saying, like, my job is literally, I don't tattoo, so like, when you're tattooing, I just try to keep up on tattooing. And now it's still too much.
Yeah, it's like everything's been compartmentalized into these small clips, or like, I don't know, it's weird. Like, you have a digital or online click, but then out in like the physical society, there's not that shit anymore. I'm wondering if AI is going to change that. If it's like, like how everyone's like, oh, I'm only on Instagram, I'm only on Facebook, or I'm only on TikTok. It's like, is everyone going to be like, well, I'm on fucking, Midjourney, and I'm
there's no question you'll have a digital assistant to mesh it all. And that's part of what I'm doing, right? Like, so part of what I'm doing already is like, or what I'm doing with other people is taking all those channels and you put it into one, right? So like your digital assistant will absolutely be posting for you in the future. You make one video and it posts it up on the 6 different spots, right? Like right now you still need somebody like me to do it, or help to be the in-between. But my guess is my clients within 2 years will probably have an AI assistant that's helping them post all their shit up. And so as far and again, as like as far as how AI is affecting, or what the other thing I was thinking of is like, where can the tattooing go? Bodysuits and sleeves and large pieces, like there's still an area to explore there, right? Like there's a lot more people getting larger work. There's definitely a lot more people getting small bangers and cool shit. But like, the stuff that like Adrian Lee has been doing, and like that, the opportunity.
That's just obscene. His stuff is so good. Him, Steve Moore. Like, I mean,
Steve Moore. Bam!
Yeah, dude. Steve, I met Steve at the Calgary Tattoo Expo in 2014. I'm loud, all right, and I'm working the show and I'm doing whatever, and he was behind me. I didn't know. See, like, and I'm being loud, and he kind of like pulled the curtain. He's like, "Hey, dude, why are you swearing so much?" It's just like, holy fuck, Steve Moore, what's up, dude? And it's just like fucking shoved my chair back.
Steve Moore.
I'm like, what you working on, bro? He's like, hey, man. And I didn't know he was so tall, I hung out with him for a little bit. I was like, holy shit.
Nice. Wicked tall, but like, but also really soft spoken.
Yeah.
And like,
it's like, I used to skate. He's like the kindest, nicest dude. I was like, I took your seminar and everyone wasted your time by asking what type of needle and inks you use, and he just laughed. Like,
yeah.
Like, can I ask you some tech questions? He's like, fire away, bro. Rocking this fucking this like full back, I'm like, man, this dude's he's just cool, Every once in a while, like we had Carrie Barba on the show last week, and
I heard it was amazing.
She exudes cool, like you meet people who are like that. They're just confident in their stuff, and anyways. Yeah, I get the
thoughtful. Like, she's wicked thoughtful. I mean, it's not surprising that she is where she's at, right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I listened to that interview. As soon as I saw that she was on there, I was like, "Oh shit, Carrie Burrows!" You know, the people like her are exactly whose influence should be, you know, just getting greater and greater. You know, and yeah, no, that was a great interview. I like how she was one of the first to start wearing protection, not for the protection, but for the feel. But it was, you know, it's like, but what I really liked is like, I could just imagine like all the dudes that are like, don't fucking do that. Don't do that in public, because then we're going to have to do that.
Yeah, that's fucking...
And she didn't give, like, she must have cared. Like, again, part of it's like hindsight, 40 years later, like, it must have been so stressful for her.
Yeah. Yeah,
like
fuck,
you know, to like have to be like, nah, I'm gonna do my thing, you know, despite the fact that you're all telling me not to.
Maybe a little bit, you know. I find, at least in my experience, I found some of the older folks that have been tattooing, you know, for 20, 30, 40 years or whatever, the ones that started out, and I don't think Carrie was like this, but I know a couple people where they knew that they were fucking good. They never had to worry about that stuff. When they went through, and they've always had that level of confidence, because Carrie's she's a rad tattooer too, and always, right? And just like working through is like, people can come up and be like, what the fuck are you doing? I could see her at a convention back in the day just be like, I'm better than you and you got to catch up.
Yeah, right. You know, I'm just doing my thing. I mean, and that is the beauty of it, right? Like when you're competing with yourself, like, well, she would also, like, again, she's legend, you know, her booths, like she would make not a spectacle, but make it a scene, like, boom. And
brilliant. Like, she's smart, soft-spoken, but really sharp, you know. And anyways, I fucking bring it back around. Large scale stuff, right?
Yeah, exactly, right. So like, there's an opportunity there, right? So like, you know, you know, maybe 5 years from now, like, you know, if it's not, you know, your mediocre tattoo is just going to get better. Your clients are getting more educated. I do think that in the end, though, tattooers will always be doing person-to-person tattoos, you know, because even if you could get it done by robot, it's going to be expensive. I was thinking about you could grow the skin and tattoo the skin, you know, tattoo the skin and put somebody under anesthesia, swap out their skin.
They're actually starting to do that. They're actually doing the anesthesia-based tattoos. They're passing some legislation down here as well for things like that, which is wild. I have an ethical concern with it personally, which I'll leave to another time. But I'm wondering now, because like, especially on your side, I don't know what you hear is like one of the like biggest complaints, but most of the time when I talk or like interact with any tattooers, it comes down to, I don't have enough time. And I'm imagining like, if AI kicks out the necessary requirements of spending hours a day developing artwork, what's going to happen? Like, everyone who's being like, oh, you shouldn't use it, they're stealing images. Yeah, but if you could save 30 hours a week.
Well, so here's the thing, right? Like if a tattooer is complaining, fuck them. Like their whole, again, most of your job is literally copying shit onto skin. Now, any illustrator, you know, Rebecca Guay, Travis Louis, like anybody that's a badass illustrator, what the fuck?
Yeah.
Like, if I was them, I would be wicked pissed that these things are using my work and generating these images, you know. And again, for example, I did that, you know, the Midjourney example. It was like Roger Dean dragon sleeve, right? 10 minutes later, there's a fucking badass sleeve design. You know, did it like 3 or 4 iterations, spent probably 50 cents on fucking rendering this out a couple times.
Wow. And
you know, and again, it's like the tattooer that I was showing it to, that's a sleeve that I could fucking tattoo on somebody, right?
Wow.
Now, Roger Dean fucked. Like, now, ideally, tattooers that would do something like that would then take 5-10%.
Yeah.
Send it to fucking Roger Dean.
Yeah.
If that's, you know, if not, maybe just spend it on an artist, an original artist, you know, or learning from an original artist.
It'd be like buying a flash sheet back in the day, right? Like when I remember people driving into the shop and they're like, hi, I've got a whole bunch of artwork. But cool, you flip through it. Oh, here's $100 to take, you know. Oh, take 20 of them. Fuck it, whatever, right? You know? You got like 4 images, something like that. Just kick them $20. Shit.
So that would harken to, exactly. So for one, the kickback, it should just be normal, right? And again, if you're doing a full sleeve, you could work it into the pricing if you were punching somebody's name into the keywords. You know, you are in control of that as a tattooer.
Social, you've got your tag. Like, this is a Guy Aitchison inspired Biomech sleeve. Fucking thanks, Guy. You know,
exactly. Well, you know, and again, you know, guys, an actual tattooer makes his living tattooing. I'm thinking of the people who strictly do like Boris Vallejo.
Arts.
Boris Vallejo, like he's not doing tattoo, like all he does, you know, is doing painting, right? But like guys never. He's always going to be able to tattoo people. His job isn't at stake, you know. I have officially had one friend who lost a job, a $10,000 job, to AI.
No shit.
The AI finished it, right? So this was a commercial gig for
Wow.
I don't know, like music festivals or something, or some sort of outdoor festivals. And they cut the, it was like, oh shit, 3 weeks left. Well, what we're gonna do is we're gonna take the art, and this is where tattooers can still do it, right? And this is where it's like using the tools, right? So the company was basically like, we're gonna take the art that you already used, feed it into the AI, make the shit that we need. Well, okay, it's probably kind of almost enough, right? So like there's a space for, and I'm just thinking of like Tom Strom or like Nick Baxter. They have like these vast catalogs of reference. They could take the reference and put it into the computer. They could do their sketches
for themselves. Jesus Christ.
Exactly.
And, or if you're like Jay Lee reference, like, I don't know, Dark Tower half sleeve. Okay, thanks, Jay. Here's $20. But if you yourself are using it, you have I don't know, 10,000 reference images because you've been tattooing for 30 years and you've kept every fucking picture. You'll be able to output just what you need. Do you think that that's going to maybe push stuff into a bit of like a level like mediocrity? Like, because AI can only work within the constraints. There's always going to be a top and a bottom level that can be achieved within it, given what the data sets are, right? So do you think that it could learn to create something better?
Yeah, yes, it can. Of course it can. Like, right. Like, I wouldn't say it can't, because in 30 to 50 to 100 years, it probably will, right?
Yeah.
I'll go all the way, like, will AI ever be conscious, right? Like, if a neural network is large enough and has enough input, will it always organize itself, in common ways, right?
Yeah.
And, and again, part of, I love this conversation because it's like, well, but a computer can never be conscious. I'm like, most people fucking don't even realize they should be conscious. like where's the balance? Like, you're almost like, have an artificial scale on the AI that most people can't, right? But that said, like, you look at our animals and it's like, do they have a consciousness and a soul or part of it? It's like, I don't know. So inherently there's something that seems soulless about the computer, right? And one of the things that I would always talk about or teach is that they will always copy the last thing, right? And this is kind of like the Napster lesson, right? Do you remember Napster? So for those that are younger in the audience, Napster was one of the first peer-to-peer music sharing software. So all of a sudden, music became free.
And Metallica lost their fucking mind.
and that was the start of, I don't know if that was the start of the disrespect for Metallica, but they could never possibly recover from that shit, because they built their career on fucking tapers.
Out of the back of a car.
If it was like Paul Simon being like, what are you doing? I don't think this is fair. That's one thing. Metallica literally was like, everyone tape our shows, spread it around. And they're anti-establishment. Anyways, point is when you could replicate something for free, right? And these digital tools allow us to replicate certain things for free. You have to like come up with other ways and other gates to make your living. And it just is, it's really clear, like they will always copy the last thing. You put something out, the human brain is designed to look at it, dissect it, reverse engineer it, and copy it. But you can't copy the next thing, right? And so to your point, it's one of the reasons why I spend time thinking about the next thing. The Paradise Tattoo Gathering that's coming up this fall. It's had like a 3 to 5 year break, probably, or has had a 5 year break. So it's been at least 5 years, 5-6 years. Yeah. And those 2008 was the first year. It's got to change its format, right? Like there's other educational events. Now, to your point, it was one of the very first of its time. The NTA did educational events before. NTA, APT, I don't know. There's people that did educational tattoo events before us. But we, it kind of did our thing with it and made it there's now other gatherings and there's now other conferences and shit, which is awesome. But that just means that I need to change up the formats. And so, that's my goal for this fall, is to introduce 2 or 3 new ideas.
You can have a virtual attendance option.
Oh yeah. Oh, we kind of always have. Isn't that kind of fun? I love it. People, So yes, we've been hybrid for fucking a decade.
No kidding.
I remember, you could look up videos of Keystone, Colorado.
I watch those.
So those were live. We beamed out a lot of those live.
Wow.
And guys always, but like I just said, I can't thank him enough. He's always been a forward-thinking, computery, geeky kind of a guy. Before we started working together, so 15 plus years ago, he was working with other computer geeks that were helping him stream out live. And I remember streaming out with him from Alex Gray's place in New York.
Yeah.
That was fucking cool. But yes, the answer is
you guys
yes.
head out to Alex Gray's and drop a bunch of fucking acid and shit.
I didn't at the time. I should have.
This guy just doesn't do acid because his stuff makes me think that he does. No comment.
I guess I wouldn't be spilling the beans on anything that he hasn't talked about probably openly before. But yeah, there's a little psychedelic action going on there.
I figured the farm was just like this, like when you walk in, it's just got to have that vibe,
It really does. I mean, like hyperspace. It's I catch it like all of a sudden I get like 2 hours into my visit there, and I'm like, oh man, this is fucking awesome. Like it really is. Like he like and again, I he was an influence on one of the it was one of the influences. My wife was another major one on like, doing Paradise in the middle of nowhere, in the woods, where you have to like leave all the shit behind, right? Like you just have to. You can't you're not like in the middle of Chicago dealing with your shit on the phone. And well, I guess it wasn't on the phone at the time, but like dealing with your shit and then hopping in, catching a cab, and it's a pilgrimage. You're getting there. It takes you a little bit of time. You have to settle down, and it's really peaceful. And guys really thoughtful and smart, and so again, I work with them a couple times a week, sometimes a couple times a week, sometimes a couple times a month. And but even then, like when I sit down with them for to get tattooed for 6 hours and we're talking, I'm like, oh man, you're a fucking smart guy. We talk, for 15 minutes, an hour about work shit, but like, and some other stuff, but like sitting down for 6 hours, it's an experience. Yeah. And he's always been very, influential for me, like, and just what that experience should be, what it should be about. Like I was saying, like everybody that he tattoos has a positive experience. Well, nearly everybody. He's making extraneous efforts. He's thinking about always how the client can be more comfortable and have a better experience and get a better tattoo. In part because that's who he is, in part because he's in the middle of fucking nowhere, so there's no walk-ins if somebody walks, right? Yeah. If he can't get halfway into his tattoo session, if the person's like, I'm tapping out, he's not working then for the next 2 days. He's amazing. And to your point though, it is like that. It's a pretty amazing, magical place. And I don't know why, but it always surprises me when I get there. And I'm like, oh man, this really is like legend.
I always wonder now because like I live in Portland, Oregon is I think one of the most saturated cities for tattooing in North America.
Wicked saturated.
It's crazy here, and I've walked into hundreds of shops up here. There's only a few that feel like they have soul, and I'm wondering maybe just get back to the AI stuff. I'm wondering if maybe when this stuff starts to come around, if maybe we can start focusing more on that clientele interaction, like maybe that'll help. I know we're always going to have the both sides. We're going to have the fucking rock stars. We're going to have the fucking drug slingers. We're going to have the scratcher shops and stuff. But the quality stuff, like, is it going to improve that quality interaction?
It all depends on the people, right? And this might be. I know we're running up, or at least I'm running up. I want to have to run out to the garage. And, have my safety meeting. But the point. What was that? What was it? Could you just say the keyword?
Oh, yeah, the client interaction AI.
Yeah. I mean, and that's where it really is, and that is what can't be replaced, and what's like authentic. And again, part of me is like most people aren't authentic. So certainly, in 10 years, there's going to be an artificially intelligent something that could come up with something creative or authentic, or emotionally attached to. But this is happening everywhere and around all of the different, all the different shit that's going on, right? Everything's going crazy. It's really about people. Yep. And, these are tools. And again, these are tools that might be manipulating us, or some of these tools might be trying to manipulate us, right? But the fact is they're tools for people, or they're people being manipulated as much as they are either allowing themselves to be or are taken advantage of. But it's all about people. And so if we could, teach people to be better people, and that's really, part of what tattooing can do. Hopefully it does. It's what I like to dork out on. Again, I like I almost want, I'm going to make a video that's like, tattooing is what will save humanity, right? Like but you could follow it back, right? Like if tattooing helps people be better people every day, then all of a sudden, if half of humanity is tattooed, thinking that they're better people, want to be better people, they're becoming better people. The people that are looking at their cool tattoos are like, oh, wow, that's awesome. They're thinking a little bit better, something more positive. it's not impossible, and it's not even like, it might not even be unlikely. It might be possible. I mean, it's the trajectory, at least, right? Like, more people are tattooed now than they were 10 years ago. It's not like people are looking at all these tattoos and going to be like, fuck it, we got to put it in the shadows again.
Yeah, dude. I think it's a beautiful way to end the show. Thank you. Yeah. And thanks for coming on.
Oh, yeah, of course. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So we'll go ahead and stop her now.
This is our generic outro track. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Remember, please go give us a like, subscribe, review on any of the podcast players or platforms that you enjoy listening to us on. And thanks. Thanks for listening to the show. We hope you enjoyed it. We'll talk to you again next week.